They mocked her silence until they learned she spoke the language of death. When Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross arrived at Forward Operating Base Sentinel as the newest member of Delta Force's elite reconnaissance unit, her teammates dismissed her quiet demeanor as weakness and her methodical approach as incompetence. What they didn't understand was that her selective mutism masked a psychological profile specifically designed for assassination work, and that her silence had been cultivated through years of specialized training that taught her to communicate through violence with a precision that would soon terrorize enemy forces across 3 countries. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The assignment briefing at FOB Sentinel took place in a secured underground facility where the walls were lined with maps, satellite imagery, and target profiles that represented the most dangerous individuals operating in the Middle Eastern theater of operations. The room's sterile lighting cast harsh shadows across the faces of Delta Force operators who had been summoned for what their commanding officer described as the most critical mission of their deployment. Colonel Marcus Webb addressed the assembled team with the gravity that accompanied operations involving national security implications beyond normal military engagement parameters. "Gentlemen and Sergeant," he nodded toward Ellie, "we have a situation that requires immediate and decisive action. Intelligence has identified a terrorist network operating across Syria, Iraq, and Turkey that has been responsible for coordinating attacks against coalition forces and civilian targets throughout the region. The terrorist organization, known as the Shadow Crescent, had demonstrated sophisticated operational capabilities that suggested extensive training, significant financial resources, and access to military-grade weapons and equipment that made them far more dangerous than typical insurgent groups. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross sat in the back row of the briefing room, her presence barely acknowledged by the other Delta Force operators who had already formed judgments about her capabilities based on her quiet demeanor and apparent reluctance to engage in the aggressive banter that characterized their unit's culture. Her personnel file showed exceptional performance in training, but operational experience remained limited by previous assignments to support roles rather than direct action missions. The mission parameters outlined by Colonel Webb required a 4-person reconnaissance team to infiltrate enemy territory, gather intelligence on Shadow Crescent leadership, and eliminate high-value targets through precision operations that would disrupt the organization's command structure while avoiding civilian casualties that could create diplomatic complications with allied governments. Master Sergeant Jake Morrison, the team leader with 15 years of special operations experience, openly questioned Ellie's inclusion in the mission during the briefing. "Sir, with respect, we're talking about deep penetration operations in hostile territory against sophisticated enemies. This mission requires operators with proven combat experience and the ability to make split-second decisions under extreme pressure." Staff Sergeant Tony Rodriguez and Sergeant First Class Mike Chen nodded their agreement with Morrison's assessment. Their body language indicated shared skepticism about Ellie's readiness for the challenges that would be involved in operations against the Shadow Crescent organization. Their concerns reflected broader institutional bias against personnel whose operational methods differed from established special operations culture and expectations. Colonel Webb's response acknowledged their concerns while emphasizing that Ellie's selection had been based on specific psychological and technical qualifications that made her uniquely suited for certain aspects of the mission requirements. The psychological profile that had led to Ellie's selection remained classified, but her training records indicated extensive preparation in covert operations, assassination techniques, and psychological warfare methods that exceeded standard special operations curriculum. Her apparent social withdrawal was actually a carefully cultivated professional asset rather than a personal limitation or character defect. The mission timeline allowed for 2 weeks of preparation and planning before deployment to the operational area, with team members responsible for intelligence analysis, equipment selection, and coordination with support elements that would provide extraction and emergency assistance if operations encountered unexpected complications or enemy resistance beyond their capability to manage independently. Ellie's contributions during mission planning were minimal and methodical, with brief technical observations about target assessment and operational security that demonstrated competence but failed to impress teammates who expected more aggressive participation in strategic discussions and tactical planning sessions. Her silence was interpreted as lack of engagement rather than professional focus on mission-critical details. Equipment selection for the mission included specialized weapons optimized for precision shooting at extended ranges, communications gear designed to maintain contact with headquarters across international borders, and surveillance equipment that would enable detailed intelligence collection on enemy personnel and facilities without revealing the team's presence or operational objectives. The target list provided by intelligence analysts included 12 high-value individuals whose elimination would significantly degrade Shadow Crescent operational capabilities while sending clear messages to remaining organization members about the consequences of continuing attacks against coalition forces and civilian populations under Allied protection. Training exercises conducted during mission preparation revealed growing tension between team members as Morrison, Rodriguez, and Chen became increasingly frustrated with Ellie's quiet approach to tactical problems and her apparent reluctance to engage in the kind of aggressive team building that they viewed as essential for unit cohesion under combat conditions. Their assessment of Ellie as a liability rather than an asset was based on conventional understanding of special operations team dynamics, but failed to recognize that her psychological profile and training background had been specifically designed to complement rather than replicate their existing capabilities and operational methods. As the departure date approached, the team dynamics remained strained despite Colonel Webb's continued support for Ellie's inclusion in the mission. Her teammates had concluded that her silence indicated weakness or incompetence that would endanger mission success and potentially result in casualties that could have been avoided through better personnel selection decisions. The departure briefing included final intelligence updates and emergency procedures, but the underlying tension between Ellie and her teammates suggested that the greatest challenges they would face might come from internal unit dynamics rather than enemy action in the operational area, where they would soon discover that her silence masked capabilities that none of them had anticipated or prepared to witness. The flight to the operational staging area provided Master Sergeant Jake Morrison with additional opportunities to question Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross's qualifications while building consensus among the other team members about her apparent unsuitability for the high-stakes mission they were about to undertake against the Shadow Crescent terrorist organization. His concerns had evolved from professional skepticism to active resentment of what he perceived as command interference in team composition. "I've been running special operations teams for 12 years, Morrison confided to Rodriguez and Chen during the 8-hour transport flight, and I've never seen someone so completely unprepared for this level of mission complexity. She sits there like a statue during briefings, contributes nothing to tactical discussions, and shows zero initiative in team preparation activities." Staff Sergeant Tony Rodriguez, whose explosive demolition expertise had made him valuable for previous missions requiring infrastructure destruction, shared Morrison's assessment while adding his own observations about Ellie's behavior during training exercises. "She moves through combat drills like she's sleepwalking. No aggression, no fire in her belly. How is she supposed to handle close-quarters combat against hardened terrorists when she can barely engage in conversation with her own teammates?" Sergeant First Class Mike Chen, the team's communications and intelligence specialist, had noticed Ellie's methodical approach to equipment preparation and technical procedures, but interpreted her attention to detail as obsessive behavior rather than professional competence. "She spends hours checking and rechecking her gear like she's afraid of making mistakes. That kind of hesitation will get us all killed when we're operating in hostile territory against enemies who won't give us second chances." The mockery of Ellie's quiet demeanor had become a regular feature of team interactions, with her teammates using terms like ghost, statue, and mute to describe her apparent inability to engage in normal military banter and aggressive team-building exercises. Their comments reflected both frustration with her behavior and growing concern about mission success with someone they viewed as fundamentally unsuited for special operations. Morrison's leadership style emphasized aggressive team cohesion through shared hardship and constant verbal interaction designed to build trust and communication under stress. But Ellie's response to these methods had been to withdraw further into silence that he interpreted as rejection of team unity and mission commitment. His attempts to draw her into conversations were met with brief professional responses that provided no insight into her thinking or capabilities. The psychological dynamics within the team had created an environment where Ellie's silence was viewed as evidence of weakness, incompetence, or psychological problems that made her unsuitable for operations requiring split-second decision-making and seamless coordination between team members whose lives would depend on each other's performance under extreme stress and enemy fire. Rodriguez's assessment of Ellie was influenced by his experience with previous female operators who had struggled with the physical and psychological demands of special operations, leading him to assume that her quiet behavior indicated similar limitations rather than different operational methods that might complement rather than conflict with established team practices and procedures. Chen's technical background had given him appreciation for methodical preparation and attention to detail, but Ellie's approach seemed excessive even by his standards, creating suspicions that her careful equipment checks and system verifications reflected anxiety or lack of confidence rather than professional thoroughness designed to prevent equipment failures during critical mission phases. The team's interpretation of Ellie's behavior was complicated by their lack of access to her psychological profile and specialized training records, which remained classified at levels above their security clearances, despite their need to understand the capabilities and limitations of all team members who would be operating in hostile territory where individual weaknesses could compromise mission success. Morrison's complaints to Colonel Webb about team composition had been consistently dismissed with explanations that Ellie's inclusion was based on mission requirements that exceeded normal special operations parameters. But these vague references to specialized capabilities only increased his frustration with what appeared to be command interference in operational team selection based on political rather than tactical considerations. The cultural expectations within Delta Force emphasized aggressive personality traits, verbal assertiveness, and willingness to engage in competitive banter that demonstrated confidence and team commitment. But Ellie's response to these social pressures had been continued withdrawal that her teammates interpreted as rejection of unit culture and values rather than different communication styles and professional methods. Training exercises had provided opportunities for the team to observe Ellie's tactical performance, but her methodical approach and apparent lack of aggressive initiative had reinforced their concerns about her suitability for missions requiring rapid response to changing threats and seamless coordination between operators whose survival would depend on instant communication and mutual support under combat conditions. The airplane's cramped seating arrangement forced physical proximity that made Ellie's silence even more noticeable as her teammates engaged in conversation, equipment discussions, and mission planning, while she remained focused on her own preparation activities without contributing to group dynamics or team-building exercises that Morrison viewed as essential for operational success. As they approached the staging area where final mission preparation would take place before insertion into hostile territory, the team's assessment of Ellie remained negative despite her consistent technical competence and adherence to operational procedures. Their mockery of her silence had become an established pattern that reflected their fundamental misunderstanding of her psychological profile and the specialized training that had prepared her for mission requirements they had not yet encountered.
The helicopter insertion into hostile territory occurred during a moonless night that provided optimal concealment for the four-person Delta Force team as they fast-roped into a barren valley 40 kilometers from the Syrian border. The landing zone had been selected based on satellite intelligence indicating minimal enemy presence, but recent communications intercepts suggested that Shadow Crescent patrols had increased their activity in the region following reports of coalition reconnaissance operations. Master Sergeant Morrison coordinated the team's movement away from the insertion point while maintaining radio silence protocols designed to prevent enemy forces from detecting their presence through electronic surveillance equipment. The rocky terrain provided excellent concealment, but challenging navigation conditions that required careful attention to route selection and noise discipline during the 12-kilometer approach march to their primary observation position. Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross moved through the darkness with fluid grace that surprised her teammates, who had expected her methodical training approach to translate into slow, hesitant movement under operational conditions. Her navigation skills and noise discipline exceeded their expectations, but Morrison attributed her performance to luck rather than competence, maintaining his assessment that she would prove inadequate when faced with actual enemy contact. The team's first day of observation operations revealed extensive Shadow Crescent activity in the target area, with vehicle movements and communications traffic that confirmed intelligence estimates about the organization's operational scope and sophistication. The enemy appeared to be conducting coordinated activities across multiple locations, suggesting command structure and logistical capabilities that exceeded previous assessments. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's explosive expertise became immediately relevant when surveillance revealed that Shadow Crescent forces were constructing improvised explosive devices using military-grade materials that posed significant threats to coalition convoys and civilian traffic throughout the region. His assessment indicated that their bomb-making capabilities were sophisticated enough to suggest professional military training or technical assistance from state-sponsored organizations. Sergeant First Class Chen's communications monitoring identified encrypted radio traffic between Shadow Crescent units that confirmed the presence of high-value targets within their area of operations, but the enemy's operational security measures made precise location identification extremely challenging without extended surveillance and pattern analysis that could expose the reconnaissance team to detection. Ellie's role during the observation phase remained unclear to her teammates, who expected her to contribute technical analysis or intelligence assessments that might justify her inclusion in the mission. Instead, she maintained her silent observation while taking detailed notes that she shared with no one, creating additional frustration among team members who felt excluded from her analytical process. The third day of operations brought the first direct enemy contact when a Shadow Crescent patrol unexpectedly approached the team's concealed observation position during a routine sweep of the area. Morrison's immediate response was to prepare for defensive engagement while considering extraction options that would preserve mission security despite potential compromise of their location. The enemy patrol consisted of 6 heavily armed fighters moving with tactical discipline that indicated military training and combat experience beyond typical insurgent capabilities. Their equipment included advanced night vision systems and communications gear that made them formidable opponents for even experienced special operations personnel operating without immediate support or extraction capabilities. Morrison's tactical assessment concluded that engagement would likely result in casualties while alerting other enemy forces to their presence, potentially compromising the entire mission and eliminating opportunities for intelligence collection or precision strikes against high-value targets. His decision to maintain concealment reflected standard special operations doctrine, emphasizing stealth over direct confrontation when possible. Rodriguez and Chen positioned themselves for defensive fire, while Morrison observed enemy movement patterns and calculated escape routes that might allow team withdrawal without detection. Their training emphasized aggressive response to enemy contact, but operational circumstances required restraint that conflicted with their natural inclinations and previous combat experience. Ellie's response to the approaching enemy patrol was different from her teammates' defensive preparations. While they focused on weapons and escape routes, she moved with deliberate purpose toward a position that would provide optimal engagement angles while maintaining concealment from the enemy force that was steadily approaching their location. The lead enemy fighter was a tall man with a distinctive scar across his left cheek who appeared to be directing the patrol's movement with hand signals that indicated extensive military training and tactical awareness. His equipment and bearings suggested leadership experience that made him particularly dangerous to coalition forces operating in the region. Morrison's whispered radio communication to Ellie ordered her to maintain position and avoid any action that might reveal their presence to the enemy patrol, but her movement continued toward an engagement position that placed her within 20 meters of the approaching fighters. Her behavior violated standard special operations procedures and created additional risk for the entire team. As the enemy patrol moved within 15 meters of their concealed position, Morrison realized that discovery was inevitable unless immediate action was taken to neutralize the threat before the fighters could alert other enemy forces to the presence of coalition reconnaissance operations in their area of control. The tactical situation required split-second decision-making about engagement versus withdrawal, with potential consequences that could affect mission success and team survival. Morrison's training emphasized aggressive response to imminent threats, but operational security considerations demanded avoiding contact that could compromise intelligence collection opportunities against high-value targets. Ellie's position had placed her in optimal position for engagement with the enemy patrol leader, but her intentions remained unclear to teammates who expected her to wait orders rather than take initiative in tactical situations that required coordinated team response and careful consideration of mission priorities over individual aggressive action.
The transformation in Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross was instantaneous and terrifying as she moved from her concealed position with fluid precision that seemed to defy the laws of physics and sound. Her teammates watched in stunned silence as she closed the distance to the enemy patrol leader with movements so controlled and deliberate that they appeared choreographed. Each step placed with surgical precision on terrain that would betray any normal approach. The enemy patrol leader, with the distinctive facial scar, never saw her coming. One moment, he was directing his team's sweep of the area through hand signals, and the next moment, Ellie's hand was clamped over his mouth while her combat knife found the precise anatomical location between his third and fourth cervical vertebrae that would sever his spinal cord while preventing any vocal response that might alert his companions. The kill was executed with medical precision that indicated extensive training in human anatomy and assassination techniques far beyond standard military combat skills. The patrol leader's body went instantly limp as his nervous system shut down, but Ellie controlled his descent to prevent any sound that might attract attention from the remaining 5 enemy fighters who continued their sweep pattern. Morrison, Rodriguez, and Shen observed from their concealed positions as Ellie moved toward the second enemy fighter with the same fluid grace that had characterized her approach to the patrol leader. Her movement was so perfectly timed with the man's attention focused on his assigned sector that he never detected her presence until her hand covered his mouth and her blade found his carotid artery with precision that indicated years of specialized training. The second kill demonstrated technique that exceeded anything her teammates had witnessed during their extensive special operations careers. Ellie's knowledge of pressure points, nerve clusters, and anatomical vulnerabilities was being applied with surgical precision that eliminated enemies without creating sound, blood spatter, or other evidence that might alert remaining patrol members to the systematic destruction of their unit. Her approach to the third enemy fighter required crossing 15 meters of open ground while remaining invisible to 3 other armed opponents whose night vision equipment and tactical training made detection seemingly inevitable. But Ellie moved through shadows and terrain features with an understanding of concealment principles that transcended normal military stealth training. The third enemy fighter was eliminated through a technique that combined psychological warfare with physical assassination, as Ellie appeared behind him like a ghost while simultaneously using pressure point manipulation to induce immediate unconsciousness before applying lethal force. Her method prevented any defensive reaction while ensuring silent elimination that maintained operational security. Morrison's radio earpiece crackled with Colonel Webb's voice requesting status update, but he was unable to respond coherently as he was processing what he was witnessing. The teammate they had dismissed as weak and incompetent was systematically eliminating a trained enemy patrol with efficiency that exceeded anything in his 12 years of special operations experience. The 4th and 5th enemy fighters were positioned to provide mutual security coverage, making simultaneous engagement necessary to prevent either man from alerting Shadow Crescent forces to the coalition reconnaissance presence.
Ellie's solution demonstrated tactical thinking and physical capability that redefined her teammates' understanding of what human performance could achieve under extreme conditions. Her simultaneous engagement of two armed opponents required techniques that seemed to violate basic principles of physics and human limitation, as she struck both men with lethal precision while preventing either from completing defensive reactions or warning signals. The sequence was executed in less than 4 seconds, with results that left both enemies permanently eliminated. The sixth and final enemy fighter represented the greatest challenge due to his positioning and alertness level, but Ellie's approach demonstrated patience and tactical awareness that had been invisible during training exercises and team preparation activities. Her method for eliminating the final threat revealed planning and execution capabilities that exceeded her teammates' comprehension. The complete elimination of the 6-man enemy patrol had taken less than 3 minutes from initiation to completion, with results that would have required extended firefights and significant ammunition expenditure using conventional special operations tactics. Ellie had achieved mission objectives without creating noise, evidence, or other indicators that might compromise continued operations in the area. Rodriguez's whispered assessment into his radio microphone was barely audible. Jesus Christ, she just eliminated an entire enemy patrol without firing a shot. I've never seen anything like this in 15 years of combat operations. Where the hell did Command find her, and what kind of training program creates capabilities like this? Chen's technical background allowed him to appreciate the precision and efficiency of Ellie's elimination techniques, but his understanding of human anatomy and physiology made her performance even more remarkable. Her knowledge of nerve pathways, pressure points, and anatomical vulnerabilities exceeded medical school education while being applied with practical expertise that indicated extensive field experience. Morrison's assessment of team capabilities underwent fundamental revision as he realized that Ellie's inclusion in the mission was based on specialized skills that none of them possessed or even understood. Her silence during training and preparation activities masked capabilities that were specifically designed for elimination operations rather than conventional military engagement. The tactical situation had been completely transformed through Ellie's intervention, with enemy threats eliminated and operational security maintained while creating opportunities for continued intelligence collection and precision strikes against high-value targets without the complications that would have resulted from conventional engagement methods. As Ellie returned to her concealed position among her teammates, her expression remained unchanged despite having just demonstrated killing skills that redefined their understanding of human capability and military training possibilities. Her silence was no longer interpreted as weakness, but as the professional discretion of someone whose specialization required compartmentalization of techniques and capabilities. The radio communication from Colonel Webb requesting status update could now be answered with information that would advance mission objectives, rather than reports of compromise and potential extraction requirements. Ellie's demonstration had not only eliminated immediate threats, but had also revealed capabilities that would be crucial for completing objectives against Shadow Crescent.
The immediate aftermath of Ellie's elimination of the 6-man enemy patrol created a profound silence among her Delta Force teammates as they processed what they had just witnessed. Master Sergeant Morrison, who had spent 12 years questioning the capabilities of various operators, found himself unable to formulate coherent thoughts about performance that exceeded every standard he had previously used to evaluate special operations personnel. "Sergeant Ross," Morrison whispered through his radio microphone, his voice carrying a respect that had been completely absent from all previous communications with her. "What the hell was that? I've never seen elimination techniques like those in any special operations manual or training program. Where did you learn to kill with that kind of precision and efficiency?" Ellie's response was characteristically brief, but carried implications that began to explain her mysterious inclusion in the mission despite her teammates' objections. "Specialized training, Sergeant. My psychological profile and technical qualifications were specifically developed for elimination operations that require stealth and precision rather than conventional engagement methods."
Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's demolition expertise had exposed him to various methods of destroying enemy personnel and equipment, but Ellie's techniques represented approaches to elimination that he had never encountered, despite extensive training in special operations tactics and procedures. His whispered assessment reflected genuine amazement that capabilities he had not known were possible. She just eliminated 6 trained fighters in less than 3 minutes without making a sound or leaving evidence that would compromise our position, Rodriguez reported to Morrison through encrypted communications. Her knowledge of human anatomy and pressure points exceeds anything I've seen from military medical personnel, and her movement techniques defy everything I know about stealth and concealment. Sergeant First Class Chen's communications and intelligence background had provided him with access to classified information about various special operations programs, but Ellie's demonstrated capabilities suggested training programs that remained beyond his security clearance levels. His technical analysis of her performance revealed systematic preparation that exceeded normal military specialization. Her elimination methods indicate extensive study of nerve pathways, anatomical vulnerabilities, and pressure point manipulation that would require years of specialized medical and combat training, Chen observed through secured radio channels. The precision and efficiency of her techniques suggest psychological conditioning specifically designed for assassination operations rather than conventional military engagement. Morrison's leadership experience had taught him to recognize exceptional performance when he encountered it, but Ellie's demonstration represented capabilities that transcended his previous understanding of human potential and military training possibilities. His assessment of team composition underwent fundamental revision as he realized that her inclusion had been based on mission requirements he had not fully understood. The psychological impact of witnessing Ellie's elimination techniques was complicated by the realization that her teammates had spent weeks mocking and dismissing someone whose capabilities far exceeded their own in specialized areas that were apparently crucial for mission success. Their previous judgments about her competence and suitability had been based on complete misunderstanding of her role and qualifications. Rodriguez's explosive expertise had made him valuable for destruction operations, but Ellie's precision elimination capabilities offered surgical removal of specific threats without the collateral damage and operational complications that typically accompany demolition work. Her methods provided tactical options that conventional special operations training had not prepared them to utilize or even recognize. Chen's intelligence analysis capabilities were enhanced by Ellie's demonstration that certain elimination operations could be conducted without creating evidence or indicators that would alert enemy forces to coalition activities in the operational area. Her techniques offered operational security advantages that conventional engagement methods could not provide under similar circumstances. The mission parameters suddenly made more sense as Morrison realized that intelligence requirements and elimination objectives could be achieved simultaneously through Ellie's specialized capabilities, while conventional special operations approaches would have required separate operations with greater risk and resource requirements. Her inclusion represented strategic thinking that exceeded his previous understanding of mission planning. Colonel Webb's voice through encrypted communications provided additional context for Ellie's demonstration. Gentlemen, Sergeant Ross represents a specialized training program designed specifically for elimination operations requiring precision and stealth that exceed conventional special operations capabilities. Her psychological profile and technical skills were developed for exactly the kind of mission you're now conducting. The revelation that Ellie's quiet demeanor and methodical approach were professional assets rather than personal limitations required fundamental adjustment of team dynamics and operational planning. Their teammates' mockery of her silence was revealed as complete misunderstanding of communication methods specifically designed for personnel whose work required different social and professional approaches. Morrison's radio communication to headquarters reflected his revised assessment of team capabilities and mission potential. "Sir, we now understand Sergeant Ross's role in this operation. Her specialized capabilities have already proven invaluable, and we're prepared to proceed with mission objectives using tactics and methods that we were not previously prepared to implement." The tactical situation had been transformed not only by elimination of immediate threats, but also by team recognition that their operational capabilities exceeded what they had previously understood. Ellie's demonstration revealed possibilities for achieving mission objectives through methods that had been invisible to them despite extensive special operations experience and training. As the team prepared to continue with intelligence collection and target elimination phases of their mission, the dynamic between team members had undergone complete transformation. Ellie's silence was no longer viewed as weakness, but as professional discretion appropriate for someone whose specialization required compartmentalization of techniques that exceeded normal military training and understanding.
The intelligence gathered from the eliminated patrol's equipment and documents revealed Shadow Crescent operational plans that exceeded previous assessments of their capabilities and immediate threat potential. Staff Sergeant Chen's analysis of encrypted communications devices and tactical maps indicated coordinated operations planned against multiple coalition targets within the next 72 hours, making rapid identification and elimination of enemy leadership an urgent priority. Master Sergeant Morrison's tactical planning incorporated Ellie's demonstrated elimination capabilities into mission parameters that had previously been considered impossible using conventional special operations methods. Her precision techniques offered opportunities for systematic removal of high-value targets without alerting Shadow Crescent security systems that protected their command structure through traditional operational security measures. The primary target list included Ahmad Hassan al-Rashid, a former Iraqi military officer whose tactical expertise had transformed Shadow Crescent from loosely organized insurgent cells into coordinated terrorist organization capable of conducting sophisticated operations against hardened military targets. His elimination would significantly degrade enemy operational capabilities while sending clear messages about coalition response to terrorist activities. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's demolition expertise became crucial for creating diversionary explosions that would draw enemy security forces away from high-value target locations, while Ellie conducted precision elimination operations. His technical knowledge of explosive timing and placement would enable coordinated operations that maximized her access to targets while minimizing security complications. Intelligence analysis revealed that Hassan operated from a fortified compound 20 kilometers from their current position, surrounded by multiple security layers, including armed guards, electronic surveillance systems, and backup forces positioned to respond to any coalition attack. Conventional assault operations would require significant military resources while creating casualty levels that exceeded mission parameters. Ellie's assessment of the target compound was conducted through reconnaissance techniques that demonstrated capabilities her teammates had not observed during training exercises. Her movement through enemy territory was so subtle and effective that she was able to conduct detailed surveillance without detection by sophisticated security systems designed to prevent exactly this kind of intelligence gathering. Her target analysis identified specific vulnerabilities in Hassan's security arrangements that could be exploited through precision elimination techniques, but only if she could gain access to the compound during specific time windows when guard rotations and electronic surveillance created brief opportunities for undetected infiltration and operation. Morrison's coordination with headquarters provided additional intelligence about Hassan's daily routine and security procedures, confirming Ellie's assessment that elimination would be possible through techniques that avoided direct confrontation with the compound's extensive defensive capabilities. Her methods offered surgical removal of the target without the complex military operation that conventional approaches would require. The tactical plan developed by the team incorporated each member's specialized capabilities into coordinated operation that would achieve elimination objectives while maintaining operational security necessary for continued operations against remaining high-value targets. Rodriguez would create diversionary explosions at predetermined times while Chen provided communication support and electronic surveillance monitoring. Ellie's infiltration of the compound began during the pre-dawn hours when guard alertness was at minimum levels and electronic surveillance systems were scheduled for routine maintenance procedures that intelligence had identified through intercepted communications. Her approach required techniques that exceeded standard special operations stealth training while utilizing specialized equipment designed for assassination operations. The compound's physical layout provided multiple challenges, including concrete walls, razor wire, guard towers, and patrol routes that covered all apparent approach vectors. Ellie's solution demonstrated understanding of architectural vulnerabilities and human behavior patterns that enabled her to identify access routes that had been invisible to conventional surveillance and planning methods. Her personal security detail included 8 bodyguards with extensive combat experience and sophisticated weapons that made direct confrontation extremely dangerous, even for highly trained operators. Ellie's elimination strategy required neutralizing security personnel through techniques that prevented alarm systems from alerting other defenders to coalition presence within the compound. The psychological profile of Hassan indicated paranoid behavior patterns and survival instincts that enabled him to avoid previous coalition attempts at capture or elimination, making him particularly challenging target whose elimination would require techniques specifically designed to overcome his security awareness and defensive preparations. Ellie's movement through the compound demonstrated capabilities that seemed to defy physical laws and human limitation, as she navigated obstacles and security measures while remaining undetected by systems designed to prevent exactly this kind of intelligence gathering. Her techniques indicated training programs that exceeded her teammates' understanding of military possibilities. The elimination of Hassan's bodyguards required simultaneous engagement of multiple opponents positioned to provide mutual security coverage. But Ellie's techniques enabled her to neutralize all security personnel within seconds while preventing any warning signals that might alert Hassan to immediate danger threatening his survival. Hassan's elimination was conducted with precision that demonstrated not only technical expertise but also psychological understanding of target behavior under extreme stress. Ellie's approach created conditions that prevented defensive responses while ensuring target recognition of imminent death, contributing psychological warfare elements to elimination operation. The successful completion of Hassan's elimination was confirmed through intelligence collection that provided crucial information about Shadow Crescent command structure and planned operations, while his death sent clear messages to remaining organization leadership about coalition capabilities and determination to eliminate terrorist threats regardless of security measures or defensive preparations.
The success of Ahmed Hassan el-Rashid's elimination triggered a systematic campaign against Shadow Crescent leadership that demonstrated the full scope of Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross's specialized capabilities, while transforming her teammates' understanding of modern warfare and the possibilities created by psychological conditioning specifically designed for assassination operations. The next 72 hours would establish new standards for precision elimination and strategic disruption. Intelligence gathered from Hassan's compound revealed the locations and security arrangements for 11 additional high-value targets, whose elimination would effectively decapitate Shadow Crescent's command structure while preventing the coordinated attacks planned against coalition forces and civilian targets throughout the region. The target list represented years of organizational development that could be destroyed through surgical precision rather than conventional military operations. Master Sergeant Morrison's tactical coordination integrated Ellie's elimination capabilities with support operations provided by Rodriguez and Chen, creating a systematic approach to target removal that maximized operational security while achieving strategic objectives that would have required extensive military resources using conventional methods. The team's effectiveness had been multiplied exponentially through proper utilization of Ellie's specialized training. The second target, Omar Qasim al-Baghdadi, operated from a mobile headquarters that moved daily between safe houses in urban areas where civilian populations provided both concealment and protection from conventional military operations. His elimination required techniques that could be applied in populated areas without creating collateral damage or evidence that might compromise continued operations against remaining targets. Ellie's urban infiltration capabilities demonstrated training in civilian disguise and social camouflage that enabled her to move through populated areas while remaining invisible to both enemy surveillance and civilian observation. Her techniques for blending into local populations exceeded standard special operations training while providing access to targets who believed urban environments offered complete protection from coalition operations. Al-Baghdadi's elimination was conducted in a crowded marketplace where conventional operations would have been impossible due to civilian presence and enemy security measures. But Ellie's precision techniques enabled target removal without detection by witnesses or security personnel. Her method appeared to be medical emergency rather than assassination, preventing investigation that might compromise continued operations against remaining targets. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's diversionary capabilities were utilized to create controlled explosions that provided cover for Ellie's operations while reinforcing the appearance that Shadow Crescent was under attack from conventional military forces rather than precision elimination specialists. His timing and placement of explosive devices supported operational deception that protected Ellie's methods from enemy analysis. Sergeant First Class Chen's communications monitoring revealed increasing panic within Shadow Crescent leadership as they struggled to understand how their most protected personnel were being eliminated despite sophisticated security measures and operational security procedures designed to prevent exactly the kind of systematic targeting they were experiencing. The third target, Mahmoud Farid al-Takriti, had survived 3 previous coalition attempts at elimination through paranoid security practices and multiple backup systems that provided early warning of approaching threats. His compound included underground bunkers, extensive surveillance systems, and reaction forces positioned to repel conventional assault operations, making him a particularly challenging target for elimination. Ellie's approach to al-Takriti's elimination required techniques that demonstrated understanding of psychological warfare principles and target behavior under extreme stress. Her method created conditions that forced the target to abandon his security protocols through carefully orchestrated scenarios that appeared to be unrelated to coalition operations while providing access opportunities. The systematic elimination of Shadow Crescent leadership created cascading effects throughout the organization, as surviving members attempted to establish new command structures while dealing with security paranoia that prevented effective coordination and operational planning. Their inability to identify elimination methods made every interaction potentially deadly, paralyzing organizational effectiveness. Morrison's communication with Colonel Webb provided regular updates on elimination progress and intelligence collection that revealed the broader impact of the operation on regional terrorist activities. The strategic effectiveness of Ellie's capabilities exceeded all previous assessments of what could be achieved through specialized personnel rather than conventional military operations. The 4th and 5th targets were eliminated during a single-night operation that demonstrated Ellie's ability to conduct multiple precision eliminations while maintaining operational tempo that prevented enemy adaptation to her methods. Her techniques remained undetected despite increased security measures and counter-surveillance efforts by remaining Shadow Crescent leadership.
Intelligence analysis revealed that enemy communications had shifted from operational planning to desperate attempts at identifying coalition methods and personnel responsible for systematic destruction of their organization. Their inability to understand or counter Ellie's techniques created psychological effects that amplified the strategic impact of each elimination. The psychological warfare aspects of the elimination campaign became apparent as surviving Shadow Crescent members began displaying paranoid behavior that prevented effective organizational function. With leadership afraid to meet, communicate, or conduct operations that might expose them to continued targeting by capabilities they could not identify or counter. Rodriguez's assessment of enemy response indicated that Shadow Crescent was attributing their losses to supernatural or inexplicable forces rather than recognizing the sophisticated training and techniques that Ellie was applying against them. This misunderstanding provided additional operational security while creating psychological effects that exceeded the tactical impact of target elimination. Chen's intelligence collection revealed that remaining terrorist organizations throughout the region had begun modifying their security procedures and operational methods in response to reports about Shadow Crescent's systematic destruction, creating broader strategic effects that exceeded the immediate mission parameters and contributed to regional counterterrorism objectives. As the elimination campaign continued through the target list, Ellie's teammates gained deeper appreciation for the strategic thinking that had led to her inclusion in the mission and the specialized training programs that had created capabilities they had not known were possible within military organizations.
Shadow Crescent's desperate attempts to counter the systematic elimination of their leadership revealed the organization's growing panic and operational breakdown as they struggled to implement security measures against threats they could not identify or understand. The remaining high-value targets had become prisoners within their own security systems, afraid to conduct normal operations that might expose them to continued targeting by coalition capabilities that seemed to defy conventional warfare principles. Intelligence intercepts monitored by Sergeant First Class Chen revealed increasingly frantic communications between surviving terrorist leaders as they attempted to coordinate defensive measures against what they described as ghost attacks and invisible assassins that eliminated protected personnel without triggering security systems or leaving evidence of coalition involvement in their systematic destruction. The seventh target, Yasmin al-Hakim al-Mosul, represented a significant challenge due to her role as the organization's intelligence chief and her extensive knowledge of counter-surveillance techniques that had enabled her to avoid previous coalition operations. Her elimination would require overcoming security measures specifically designed to counter special operations infiltration and assassination attempts. Al-Mosul's compound featured layered security systems, including thermal imaging, motion detectors, acoustic sensors, and human patrols that provided comprehensive coverage against conventional infiltration methods. Her paranoid approach to personal security had been reinforced by reports of unexplained leadership eliminations that convinced her that coalition capabilities exceeded previous assessments. Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross's analysis of al-Mosul's defensive preparations revealed sophisticated understanding of special operations techniques, but also identified psychological vulnerabilities that could be exploited through methods that appeared to be internal security threats rather than external assassination attempts. Her approach required creating scenarios that would force the target to abandon established security protocols. Master Sergeant Morrison's coordination with headquarters provided additional intelligence about Shadow Crescent's countermeasures, including recruitment of foreign security specialists and implementation of procedures specifically designed to prevent infiltration by coalition special operations personnel. Their defensive adaptations were sophisticated but based on conventional threat assumptions. The psychological impact of the elimination campaign had created unintended consequences as Shadow Crescent leadership became increasingly paranoid about internal betrayal and security breaches, leading to executions of their own personnel suspected of providing intelligence to coalition forces. Their response was destroying organizational cohesion while providing cover for continued elimination operations.
Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's diversionary operations had evolved to support increasingly complex deception scenarios that reinforced enemy assumptions about conventional military threats while concealing the precision elimination techniques that were actually responsible for systematic destruction of their leadership. His explosive expertise created false indicators that misdirected enemy analysis. Al-Masul's elimination required techniques that demonstrated the full scope of Ellie's psychological training and understanding of human behavior under extreme stress. Her method involved creating conditions that appeared to be internal security crisis while providing access opportunities that overcame even sophisticated defensive measures and paranoid security procedures. The successful elimination of Al-Masul provided crucial intelligence about Shadow Crescent's remaining leadership structure and planned countermeasures against coalition operations, while her death eliminated the organization's most capable security specialist and reduced their ability to implement effective defensive measures against continued targeting. Intelligence analysis revealed that Shadow Crescent had begun fragmenting into isolated cells that refused to communicate or coordinate operations due to security paranoia created by systematic leadership elimination. Their organizational effectiveness had been destroyed not only through removal of key personnel, but also through psychological effects that prevented remaining members from functioning effectively. The eighth target, Ibrahim Yusuf Al-Anbar, had implemented security measures that included constant relocation, multiple body doubles, and communication procedures designed to prevent accurate targeting by coalition intelligence services. His elimination would require techniques that could overcome sophisticated deception measures while ensuring target identification accuracy. Chen's communications monitoring revealed that enemy counterintelligence operations had identified patterns in the elimination campaign that suggested systematic targeting rather than random attacks. But their analysis remained focused on conventional special operations methods rather than the specialized assassination techniques that Ellie was actually employing against their leadership. The tactical challenge of eliminating Al-Anbar required coordination between all team members, as his security measures included reaction forces positioned to respond immediately to any threat, making precise timing essential for successful operation while maintaining operational security necessary for continued missions against remaining high-value targets. Ellie's approach to Al-Anbar's elimination demonstrated adaptation to enemy countermeasures through techniques that exceeded even her previous performance levels, suggesting that her specialized training included progressive capability development that could overcome increasingly sophisticated defensive measures through continued operational experience and tactical refinement. The psychological impact of Al-Anbar's elimination on remaining Shadow Crescent leadership created complete breakdown of organizational communication and coordination, with surviving members afraid to maintain contact that might expose them to continued targeting by coalition capabilities they could not identify, understand, or effectively counter through conventional security measures. Morrison's assessment of mission progress indicated that strategic objectives were being achieved ahead of schedule through methods that exceeded all previous special operations effectiveness standards, while the broader impact on regional terrorist activities suggested that Ellie's capabilities represented revolutionary advancement in counterterrorism operations and strategic warfare applications. As the elimination campaign approached completion of the original target list, intelligence revealed that Shadow Crescent's organizational destruction was creating power vacuums that prevented other terrorist groups from assuming their operational role, contributing to broader regional security improvements that exceeded the immediate tactical objectives of the mission.
The elimination of the final 3 high-value targets on the Shadow Crescent leadership list was accomplished within a single 48-hour period that demonstrated the full tactical potential of Staff Sergeant Ellie Ross's specialized capabilities, while establishing new standards for strategic elimination operations that would influence special operations doctrine for years to come. The 9th target, Hassan Omar Al-Fallujah, had implemented desperate security measures including underground bunkers, electronic jammers, and isolation protocols designed to prevent any external contact that might expose him to continued coalition targeting. His elimination required techniques that overcame complete physical isolation while maintaining operational security necessary for completing remaining mission objectives.
Intelligence analysis conducted by Sergeant First Class Chen revealed that Shadow Crescent's organizational structure had effectively ceased to exist as a functional entity, with surviving members operating as isolated individuals rather than coordinated terrorist cells. The systematic elimination campaign had achieved strategic destruction that exceeded conventional military operations while requiring minimal resources and creating no collateral damage. Master Sergeant Morrison's final tactical coordination involved simultaneous operations against the remaining targets, whose elimination would complete strategic destruction of Shadow Crescent, while providing definitive confirmation that coalition capabilities could systematically eliminate terrorist organizations regardless of their security measures, operational security, or defensive preparations. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez's diversionary operations during the final phase created complex deception scenarios that reinforced enemy assumptions about conventional military threats while concealing the precision techniques responsible for systematic leadership destruction. His contributions had been essential for maintaining operational security throughout the elimination campaign. Ellie's approach to the final elimination sequence demonstrated mastery of psychological warfare principles and tactical innovation that exceeded her previous performance levels, suggesting that operational experience had enhanced capabilities that were already beyond conventional special operations training and preparation. Her techniques had evolved throughout the mission to overcome increasingly sophisticated defensive measures. The 10th target, Khalil Mansour al-Ramadi, was eliminated through techniques that appeared to be medical emergency rather than assassination, preventing investigation that might compromise understanding of coalition capabilities while ensuring that his death contributed to complete organizational breakdown that had been building throughout the systematic elimination campaign. The 11th and final target, Samir Farouk al-Basara, represented the last remnant of Shadow Crescent's command structure, whose elimination would complete strategic objectives while demonstrating coalition determination to eliminate terrorist threats, regardless of security measures or operational complexity. His death marked the end of an organization that had threatened regional stability for over 3 years. Colonel Webb's communication with the team following completion of all elimination objectives provided strategic assessment of mission impact that exceeded all previous special operations achievements in terms of strategic results achieved through minimal resource expenditure and precise application of specialized personnel capabilities rather than conventional military operations. The intelligence value of the elimination campaign extended beyond target removal to include comprehensive understanding of terrorist organizational methods, security procedures, and operational planning that would be crucial for preventing similar threats from emerging in the future. The mission had provided both tactical success and strategic intelligence that enhanced regional security. Morrison's after-action assessment emphasized the revolutionary nature of Ellie's capabilities and their implications for future special operations planning and personnel development, recommending immediate expansion of specialized training programs that could create similar capabilities among selected personnel with appropriate psychological profiles and technical aptitude. Rodriguez's evaluation of the mission focused on the coordination possibilities created by integrating specialized elimination capabilities with conventional special operations support, demonstrating that tactical innovation could multiply effectiveness while reducing resource requirements and operational complexity compared to traditional military approaches to similar strategic objectives. Chen's intelligence analysis documented the broader regional impact of Shadow Crescent's elimination, including disruption of terrorist coordination networks, prevention of planned attacks against coalition and civilian targets, and creation of security improvements that would benefit regional stability for years following completion of the elimination campaign. The team's extraction from the operational area was conducted without incident, their mission success having eliminated immediate threats while providing operational security that prevented enemy understanding of coalition methods or personnel responsible for systematic destruction of one of the region's most dangerous terrorist organizations. Headquarters debriefing sessions provided detailed analysis of Ellie's techniques and their applications for future operations, with particular emphasis on psychological conditioning and specialized training requirements that would be necessary for developing similar capabilities among personnel with appropriate qualifications and operational potential. The transformation of team dynamics from initial mockery of Ellie's silence to complete professional respect for her specialized capabilities represented broader lessons about personnel evaluation and the importance of understanding diverse operational methods and psychological profiles within military organizations conducting complex missions requiring specialized skills and tactical innovation.